The Kansas City Chiefs and the Philadelphia Eagles just finished up their Super Bowl rematch in week 2 of this NFL season. And we're going to look back, I think, at the end of this year as this was a really good win for Philly. They went into Kansas City and took this game. But I think if you're sitting here and you're thinking about this game, it was a grueling matchup. It was not just grueling for the players. I think it was grueling for the people watching the game. It started off with 4 drives where the Eagles punted twice, the Chiefs punted once and missed a field goal. And then while there was some scoring to end the first half, it again was pretty grueling. There was a really nice run from Patrick Mahomes on back-to-back plays, one of them to get a third down conversion, one of them to put the ball in the end zone and take the lead for Kansas City. But again, it was kind of a grueling game through and through. Both of these teams, it somewhat felt like just weren't anywhere near their top shape, or at least where I think we're going to expect them to be towards the end of the season. Jalen Hurts had 100 passing yards. Patrick Mahomes had 187. Saquon Barkley, while he had 88 yards, a lot of the rush attempts that Philly had, they kind of got stuffed by Kansas City. A.J. Brown, again, was held to 27 yards today. That's a pretty low bar for A.J. Brown. There was a lot of deep shots taken by both of these teams to pretty much the same guy each time. Philly kept trying to get the ball deep to Devonta Smith, and he did convert on one of those attempts. It was the catch that was towards the end of the third quarter where the Eagles were able to set up a touchdown drive. It actually was at the beginning of the fourth quarter. They were able to set up a touchdown drive after the interception by Andrew Makuba. In Kansas City, time and time again, was trying to take deep shots to Tyquan Thornton. There was a few where I feel like you can maybe say Thornton should have came down with it, but there were a few where Patrick Mahomes just put it too far out for Thornton. There was that play late in the game with maybe 5 or 6 minutes left where Tyquan Thornton was wide open, and it was still 20-10 at this point. And if Mahomes connects on that pass, it's a 70-yard touchdown, and the Chiefs have 5 or 6 minutes to get the ball back and try to get a field goal. Kansas City did finally connect on one of those plays with Tyquan Thornton to end their last drive. It was a 50-yard pass down the middle to Tyquan Thornton. He brought it in through some pretty decent coverage. Even though they made it a 3-point game there at the end, it just was not enough. And they missed the onside kick. And at that point, it pretty much was the end of the game. We knew Philly was going to do whatever they wanted to try to end that game. They were going to run the ball with Saquon. They were going to do a tush push. And that play, the tush push play, it's taken on its another shade of controversy, as it really got highlighted by Tom Brady and Kevin Burkhardt over the broadcast that Philly, the guards, are probably moving early on the play. And I think it's hard when you think about Cam Jurgens' role as the center in that play, because first off, he has to worry about getting a good snap off. Second, he has to worry about getting the snap off the exact second that Jalen Hurts says hike. His job takes longer than the guard's job, than the tackle's job on that play, because the guard and the tackles, they're just going to go straight ahead and try to move the wall forward. Cam Jurgens has to snap it, even though it takes half a second. That's half a second where it's going to start looking like the rest of the Philadelphia offensive line is moving early. And I think you could call it a false start. I think you also could call it, that's just kind of how the center's job is going to work on that play. Maybe I'm wrong, but that's just kind of how I see it. I think it is still somewhat a false start because the offensive line is moving before the ball is snapped. It's also it's the hardest play to judge in the NFL right now. And I think if there's a team that wants to start planning a way to stop that, they kind of have to hope that the refs are going to call a false start on that play. Now, if Kansas City wants to sit there and say that they lost this game because there was no false start penalty called on Tyler Steen or Landon Dickerson on those plays, I would point to the touchdown that should have been caught by Travis Kelce. And really, that's the play that ended up losing the game for Kansas City, in my opinion, because Travis Kelce should catch that pass. That's a pass he's caught hundreds, if not thousands of times, not just in games, but in practice with Patrick Mahomes, probably in just the last 12 months. And he drops the pass. Andrew Makuba, who had an incredible game today, he had a sack early in the game. He combined with another new guy on that Philadelphia defensive line, Zadarius Smith, who was just signed earlier in the week. Zadarius Smith and Andrew Makuba probably had two of the most important played games for the Philadelphia defense. Makuba had a sack. He had a lot of really good tackles on the third down. He had another really big play against, I believe it was Hollywood Brown. It was a 3rd and 1. I believe it was the play before Kansas City didn't convert on their 4th down conversion to Kareem Hunt. I think Makuba is the guy that brought it to 4th down. And so, like I said, Makuba and Zadarius Smith probably played the two most important games for Philly on defense. I think we didn't hear a lot about the pass rush outside of the few plays where Philadelphia brought a blitz and they were able to get home on it. Makuba had one of those blitzes where he got home on it. And for Kansas City, again, Travis Kelce overall had a decent game, 4 catches for 61 yards, but a couple of plays where he, if we're talking about prime Travis Kelce, there was the out route for about a 10, 15-yard gain that hit his hands. I wouldn't necessarily call it a drop because that's a really tough play to catch where it's out in front of him and he has just broken on his route. It's a tough play for him to bring in, but it's a play he's brought in before. And the play I think you focus more on is the route over the middle of the field where it gets picked off after he deflects it. And so you're looking at that. Travis Kelce has a great game. Today he has a good game, but in a prime Travis Kelce year, this would have been a great game from Travis Kelce. And they're probably on the other side of this game winning it. Now, next week, the Eagles, I wouldn't necessarily say that their schedule gets any easier because while they do play at home next week, they play the LA Rams. The Rams were probably the team that gave them the biggest troubles on the way to winning the Super Bowl last year. And LA is off to a pretty good start in their own right. They won last week against the Houston Texans, and I believe they won today against the Tennessee Titans, which... I don't believe it. I know it happened. They're going to be the other video I'm making tonight. And so I don't think Philly's road past today gets any easier. They play LA next week. They play the Bucs on the road, and then they play Denver. That's like between today's game with Kansas City, last week's game against Dallas. This is a pretty tough start to the season for Philly. But I think so far they're off to a great start with 2 wins against good opponents. Kansas City now off to an 0-2 start. They get a little bit easier of a matchup, although the New York Giants today looked like they were going to pull off one of the best comebacks of this early part of the season. If Russell Wilson is going to throw for over 450 yards again against Kansas City, then maybe New York is a tough opponent on Sunday Night Football. But I think today was somewhat of an outlier by that Russell Wilson-led offense. I know he has Malik Neighbors. I know he has Wan'Dale Robinson. And I know that defensively New York could bring some pressure against Kansas City they kind of have 3 guys now. Actually, I would even say 4 guys. They have Thibodeau, they have Burns, they have Lawrence, and now they have Abdul Carter. That's 4 guys. I mean, that's going to be tough for Kansas City, considering they have a rookie left tackle. They have Jawan Taylor, who is always prone to penalties, and I think the interior of their offensive line, while they do have Creed Humphrey and Trey Smith, I think, there can be some things done by Dexter Lawrence against any interior offensive line. I still think Kansas City, they're much better than New York, and I would expect that next week on Sunday Night Football is where we see them get their first win of the season. My hope is to have this posted before the Sunday night game tonight between Minnesota and Atlanta. And my other hope is that my video about Tennessee and the LA Rams, that's going to be up either after the game, during the game, or sometime tomorrow. So if you want to see that video, make sure you stay tuned for it, and I'll see you then.